Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to speak to you about a truth so simple, so effortless, yet so transformative that it can change the very fabric of your life. Most people struggle, most people fight, most people fight, most people push, pull, and beg the world to give them what they desire. But I tell you, all that struggle is unnecessary. You have within you a power so great, so divine, that by simply calling it into existence, your desires will manifest effortlessly. You do not need to force, strive, or toil endlessly. You need only to know, to imagine, to live as though your desire is already fulfilled. That is the law, and tonight we shall explore it fully. Was the power of imagination. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want you to understand something that is simple, yet so profoundly misunderstood. The power to shape your life. The power to call into existence everything you desire does not lie in effort, in struggle, or in ceaseless toil. It lies in your imagination. I say to you, your imagination is God within you. It is not a fantasy. It is not idle thinking. It is the workshop where reality is formed. The world that you see, the world that you live in, is nothing more than a reflection of what you have imagined, what you have assumed, and what you have accepted as true in the unseen. Consider this. Every invention, every building, every achievement that exists in the world today first existed in someone's mind. The great works of art, the structures of industry, the discoveries of science, they were all first imagined before they existed in the material world. They lived in consciousness. And this, my friends, is the same power that is within you. It is not reserved for a few. It is not given to the gifted or the talented. It is yours now. You can use it this very moment to change your life entirely. Yet how often do people misunderstand this power? How often do we spend our days looking at the outer world, measuring ourselves against it, struggling to mold it with effort, begging it to give us what we want, only to find ourselves frustrated and disappointed? Why? Because you are looking in the wrong place. You are looking outward, to circumstances, to appearances. But the law of creation does not work outwardly. It works inwardly. The outer world is merely a mirror, reflecting your inner state. If you wish to change your world, you must first change what is inside. You must first see and feel the world you desire within your own imagination. Now I want you to understand this deeply. Your imagination is not just a mental playground. It is not something to use occasionally or idly. It is a living, creative power, capable of shaping reality, and it operates according to one simple principle. What you imagine and feel as real, you will experience as real. There is no other law, no other force that can prevent it. If you can imagine a scene and enter it, live in it, feel it as though it is already true, then that scene is already woven into the fabric of your reality. It only waits for your faith, your conviction, and your persistence to appear in the material world. I have spoken often about feeling. It is not enough to simply imagine, you must feel. Imagine a house you wish to live in, but feel the emotions of living there. Imagine the success you desire, but feel the pride, the confidence, and the satisfaction that comes with it. Imagine love, friendship, or abundance, and let yourself experience the joy as if it is already yours. Feeling is the engine of manifestation. Thought alone is powerless. Without feeling, imagination is like a brush without paint, a lamp without light. Feeling infuses imagination with life. It breathes reality into what otherwise would remain invisible. Let me give you a practical understanding of this. Tonight, as you sit and listen to these words, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the life you most desire. Perhaps it is wealth. Perhaps it is love. Perhaps it is health. Perhaps it is freedom to live as you choose. Do not think about how it will come to you. Do not consider the means or the steps. Those are distractions. Simply see yourself living it now. Hear the sounds. See the sights. Feel the sensations. Walk through your house. Touch the furniture. Smell the air. Shake hands with the people you want to be with. Speak the words you long to say. Laugh. Rejoice. Embrace. Feel it as real. The universe does not argue with your imagination. It does not question your right. It responds immediately to your feeling. But here is the point that is often missed. Many people imagine only fleetingly, and so their lives do not change. They imagine perhaps for a few moments each day, and then allow doubt, fear, or distraction to dominate their consciousness. And so nothing manifests. The law is perfect, but your attention must be consistent. You must enter your imagined scene repeatedly, persistently, until it feels natural, until it feels real, until your inner being accepts it as already accomplished. Persistence in imagination is what bridges the gap between desire and reality. Some may ask, but Neville, how can I imagine something I have never experienced? This is the beauty of imagination. You do not need to have seen it in the outer world. You do not need proof. Imagination has no bounds. It is limitless. You can live in the reality of something entirely new, something you have never known, and it will be brought to you. The world of form is obedient only to the world of consciousness. What you imagine with feeling becomes your reality. The unseen precedes the seen. The imagined reality is the seed and the outer world is the harvest. And so I say to you tonight, treat your imagination with reverence. Do not waste it on worries, on petty complaints, on negative assumptions. Every image you hold in your mind is a call to creation. If you imagine fear, you manifest fear. If you imagine failure, you experience failure. But if you imagine triumph, joy, love, abundance, then that is what the universe will deliver. You are right now a living magnet, drawing into your life exactly what you entertain within your consciousness. Nothing comes from effort alone. Nothing comes from struggle. It comes from the vivid living assumption of what you wish to be real. Understand this principle, and you will never again be a victim of circumstance. You will never again need to fight, to plead, to strive. You will simply know the art of creation. You will know that by entering your imagined state and feeling it as real, you are calling it into existence without effort. The world will bend to the power of your imagination. It must, for it has no choice. The invisible always precedes the visible, and you tonight have the key to the invisible. So let your imagination become your daily companion. Spend time each day entering the life you desire. See it, hear it, feel it, and believe it. Persist until it feels natural, until your inner being rests in the reality of it. This is not dreaming. It is the very act of creation. The outer world is merely the echo of your inner state. Change the inner, and the outer must conform. That, my friends, is the secret, the power, the effortless law of imagination. Remember, everything that exists began as a thought, a vision, an image. The house you live in, the food you eat, the relationships you cherish, all were first imagined. You are no different. You have the same power, the same creative capacity. Your imagination is alive. Treat it with respect. Call into existence only that which you desire. Persist, feel, live in the end, and watch with quiet awe as the invisible becomes visible, effortlessly, naturally, divinely. Feeling is the secret. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is one truth that I want you to grasp tonight, it is this: feeling is the secret. You see, most people think that life is governed by what they do, by the actions they take, by the steps they follow. They believe that effort, struggle, and relentless pursuit are the engines of success. But I tell you, nothing in the outer world creates reality. It is not action that forms your world. It is feeling. It is the quality of emotion, the intensity of inner experience that shapes everything you see, everything you experience, and everything you attract. Many have asked me, Neville, how can I make my dreams come true? And I reply, do not chase your dreams. Feel them. Do not analyze or plan endlessly. Live in the feeling of your fulfilled desire. You must understand this principle clearly. Thought without feeling is powerless. You may think of riches, you may think of love, you may think of health, but if there is no feeling, no inner reality of the desire, nothing will manifest. Feeling is the engine of creation. Feeling is the call to the unseen. Feeling is what brings the imagined world into reality. Now let me explain why this is so. Your consciousness is the creative power. Within you lies a state that does not distinguish between the imagined and the real. When you feel vividly, intensely, and consistently the reality of your desire, your consciousness accepts it as true. The universe responds not to your words, not to your actions, but to the state you assume within. Imagine for a moment the joy of victory, the exhilaration of abundance, the warmth of love fulfilled. Hold that feeling as if it is already yours. Rest in it. Saturate yourself with it, and you will find that the outer world begins to mirror it effortlessly, without struggle. People often ask, Neville, must I act to receive what I desire? And I say, yes, you act. But not externally. You act within. The outer world is only a reflection of the inner. All effort directed outward is unnecessary. If you have assumed the inner state, the action that matters is the action of feeling. To act outwardly without feeling is like trying to start an engine without fuel. It may move a little, but it will never reach its destination. Feeling is the fuel. Feeling is the invisible force that moves the outer world into alignment with your inner reality. Let me give you a practical example. Something simple yet profound. Suppose you desire love, true love, the companionship of a partner who adores you. Many people go about searching, begging, pleading, and hoping they will find it. They focus on the absence of love. And what do they experience? More absence. But the law is precise. You attract according to your inner state. If you cultivate the feeling of being already loved, if you imagine being held, cherished, spoken to tenderly, and you feel that reality deeply, then you are calling that love into your life. The unseen responds, and it will create circumstances that reflect the inner reality you have assumed. It is not effort that calls it. It is feeling. And notice this. Feeling is not idle imagination. Feeling is not daydreaming. Feeling is the consciousness of reality. When you feel your desire is fulfilled, you are living you are in the state where nothing else can shake your certainty. You do not question. You do not argue with appearances. You do not wait for proof. You rest in the certainty of the unseen, and that certainty alone is what brings manifestation. The world cannot resist the energy of a consciousness that knows. The universe is obedient to feeling. It cannot refuse what has been felt as real. Consider the contrast. When people feel fear, worry, or doubt, what happens? Their outer world reflects it. They may struggle endlessly, chase opportunities, and exhaust themselves. Yet nothing works. Why? Because they are operating in a state of lack, of want, of inner disbelief. The law is not partial. It is perfect. Whatever you feel is real, you attract. And whatever you feel is absent, you also attract. The outer world is impartial. It merely mirrors your inner state. That is why I say to you, guard your feelings. Guard your inner life. Do not allow doubt, fear, or anxiety to dominate, for it is far more powerful than any effort you might expend in the outer world. Now, how do you cultivate this feeling? How do you make it real enough to move the world? The answer is imagination combined with inner attention. Take your desire and see it vividly in your mind. But do not stop at vision. Enter it. Live it. Hear the sounds. Smell the scents. Touch the objects. Speak the words and feel the sensations. Emotions must accompany the scene. The heart, the body, the mind, all must participate, and then remain in that state with faith. Persist quietly and continuously until it becomes your dominant inner reality. This is the art of feeling. Many will ask, Neville, how long must I feel? And I say, until it feels natural, until it feels as though it has always been. There is no fixed timetable. Some will achieve rapid results because they have mastered the art of feeling. Others will take longer because their inner convictions are not yet aligned. But the principle is unchanging. Feeling creates reality. Do not be distracted by outer appearance. The outer world is a shadow. It is not the substance. Substance lies within, in the feeling, in the consciousness that assumes the end. I must emphasize one more point. Do not wait for evidence. Do not seek proof. Proof is unnecessary. Proof is for the mind. But creation is a matter of feeling. When you feel your desire, the evidence will appear in perfect time. You do not need to push, pull, or strive. The unseen does not respond to your desperation. It responds to your feeling of fulfillment. Your task is to inhabit that state, to rest in it, and to allow the invisible to take care of the how. The universe is intelligent. It knows how to bring your inner state into form. Your job is only to feel. So tonight I invite you to practice this secret. Whatever you desire, do not focus on how it will happen. Do not focus on whether it will happen. Focus on feeling it now, as if it is already yours. Saturate yourself with the joy, the satisfaction, and the certainty of its fulfillment. Persist silently without effort. Let the feeling be the bridge between your present reality and the world you wish to experience. This is the law. This is the secret. This is the effortless power that lies within you. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, effort struggles against the world. The world
Feeling harmonizes with it. Effort battles, tires, and often fails. Feeling calls, attracts, and effortlessly brings reality into being. If you will master feeling, if you will enter the consciousness of your fulfilled desire, you will discover that the world bends to your will, without struggle, without effort, and without delay. Feeling is the secret, the silent force, the invisible power that transforms imagination into reality. Guard it, cultivate it, and watch as the unseen manifest your desire with divine precision.
3. Assume the end. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a principle so simple, so powerful, and yet so often overlooked, that it alone can transform your life. That principle is this: assume the end. Do not chase after your desire. Do not grovel, struggle, or plead. Do not concern yourself with how the outer world will bring it to you. Instead, assume that your desire is already fulfilled. Live from that state. Speak from that state. Feel from that state. For it is in the state of the fulfilled wish that creation finds its perfect response. Now you may ask, Neville, what does it mean to assume the end? It means this: to cease thinking in terms of lack, limitation, or absence. It means to enter fully into the consciousness of having what you desire. If your wish is wealth, do not imagine wanting it. Imagine it already in your possession. See the numbers, hear the transactions, feel the abundance. If your wish is love, do not imagine searching. You are already loved. Hear the words, feel the embrace, and know that you are cherished. If your wish is health, do not imagine sickness. You are strong, vibrant, and whole. The world cannot resist the state of consciousness that assumes the end. Understand this. People fail in manifestation not because the law does not work, but because they assume the wrong state. They assume lack. They assume struggle. They assume limitation. And the law is precise. It responds to assumption. Whatever you assume as true, your subconscious mind accepts and impresses upon the world. This is why I say, assume the end. Do not flinch. Do not doubt. Do not postpone. Live now as the person who has already received. Let me give you an example. Suppose you wish to receive a promotion, an advancement in your career. Many will sit and plan, work harder, network, strategize endless, and yet some of them will fail because their inner state is one of worry, anxiety, and uncertainty. But you, if you assume the end, would see yourself already in that position. You would feel the satisfaction, the pride, the respect, and the joy. You would walk, speak, and think as the person already elevated. The universe responds to that inner reality. It must. For what you have accepted in the mind, the unseen begins to perfect in form. And notice this: assuming the end is not imagining a fantasy. It is not wishing or hoping. It is living the reality that is already yours in the mind. It is entering the scene of the fulfilled desire with full awareness, as though no other possibility exists. You do not say, I hope to be rich. You say, I am rich. You do not say, I hope to be loved. You say, I am loved. The mind, the subconscious, and the universe hear only the state you occupy. They cannot differentiate between what is imagined vividly as real and what is materially present. This is why persistence is essential. To assume the end is to maintain the state until it becomes natural. Do not be discouraged by appearances. The outer world may seem contrary. It may seem slow to reflect your assumption, but do not waver. Persist in the inner reality. Assume the end continuously. Live, speak, think, and feel as the person who has already received. By doing so, you impress your desire upon the subconscious mind, and the unseen begins its work, silently, perfectly, and inevitably. Some ask, Neville, what if I feel doubt? Doubt is the common enemy. It is the subtle thief of manifestation. But here is the key. When doubt arises, do not fight it. Simply return to the assumed end. Shift your attention, not to the doubt, but to the state of fulfillment. Enter it again, with feeling, with vividness, with certainty. Each time you return, you reinforce the state in your consciousness. Each time you persist, you strengthen the power of assumption. The outer world is powerless to resist the state of consciousness that has assumed its end. Now consider the way most people live. They see what is lacking. They feel the absence,
They acknowledge the problem, and then they try to fix it with effort. They plan, they struggle, they argue with circumstances. But the law is not persuaded by argument. The law responds to assumption. The law does not negotiate. It obeys. And when you assume the end, when you live in the fulfilled state, the law must bring it to pass. It cannot do otherwise. Let me give you another example. Suppose your desire is to attract the perfect companion. Do not seek outwardly. Do not hope endlessly. Instead, assume the end. See yourself already with that person. Hear their words. Feel their touch. Share the laughter, the conversation, the intimacy. Immerse yourself in the scene as though it is happening now. Persist, day after day, night after night. Return to this inner reality and watch silently as the circumstances, people and opportunities converge to bring your assumption into outer form. Remember this. Assuming the end is not passive. It is the most active, the most powerful act imaginable. It is not effort in the material sense, but effort in consciousness. It is living, moment by moment, in the state you wish to realize. Every word you speak, every thought you think, every emotion you feel, aligns with the state of fulfillment. It is the most natural, effortless, and joyful work you will ever do. And the universe responds silently and perfectly to your inner state. And notice this. The law never fails. It is precise. Whatever you assume, whether consciously or unconsciously, you bring into being. Many fail because they assume negatively, because they have not disciplined their imagination, because they are unconscious creators. But you, by assuming the end, deliberately, by entering the state of the fulfilled wish, become a conscious creator. You command reality not by force, not by struggle, not by reasoning, but by the living, persistent assumption of the end. Now, a final point I must emphasize. Do not concern yourself with the means. Do not ask, how will it happen? That question is the mark of doubt, the mark of lack. The unseen, the intelligence of life, knows perfectly how to bring the assumed end into reality. Your task is only to assume, to enter the state, and to persist. All else will be arranged in perfect order. The moment you assume the end, with feeling, the path, the circumstances, the people and the opportunities will align without effort. You do not need to plan. You do not need to control. You need only to inhabit the state of fulfillment. So tonight I ask you to practice this principle. Choose a desire, any desire. Close your eyes. Enter the scene as if it is already accomplished. Feel it. Live it. Breathe it. Persist until it becomes natural. Do not waver. Do not question. Assume the end and let the universe respond. This is the secret. This is the law. This is the effortless power that lies within you. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this fully. The world you see is merely a reflection of the world you assume. If you assume lack, you will experience lack. If you assume abundance, you will experience abundance. If you assume love, you will experience love. The law does not discriminate. It obeys the state you occupy. Therefore, assume the end. Live in it. Feel it. Persist in it. And watch the outer world conform effortlessly. This is the art of conscious creation. This is the secret of the imagination. This is the law of assumption in action.
4. The law of revision. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to introduce you to a principle that is often overlooked, but is among the most powerful tools in your creative arsenal. It is called the law of revision. Many people believe that the past is fixed, that the events that have already occurred are beyond their influence, that mistakes, failures, and disappointments are permanent. But I tell you, nothing could be further from the truth. The past is not rigid. It is not immovable. The past exists in consciousness. And because it exists in consciousness, it is entirely subject to your imagination. You see, every night when you go to sleep, your subconscious mind is most receptive. It is like fertile soil, ready to accept the seeds you plant. And the law of revision allows you to enter the past, not as a victim of events, but as a conscious creator. Whatever occurred today, yesterday, or even years ago can be revised in your imagination. You can change the story, alter the ending, and impress upon your subconscious the reality you wish to experience. The unseen responds not to the actual events of the past, but to the reality you accept and feel as true. Now let me explain how this works. Suppose something happened today that disappointed you. Perhaps a conversation went poorly, a task was unsuccessful, or someone slighted you. Ordinarily, you would carry that disappointment into tomorrow, feeling its weight, reacting to it, perhaps even allowing it to influence your state of mind and actions. But through revision, you change that story. You enter it in your imagination and see it as you wished it to happen. You imagine the conversation going differently, the task succeeding, the other person treating you with respect. You feel the scene as real, as though it truly happened that way. You dwell in it, embrace it, and let it leave your consciousness in a state of satisfaction. Why is this so powerful? Because your subconscious does not distinguish between what actually happened and what you vividly imagine. It accepts whatever is impressed upon it as reality. By revising the past, you are not lying to yourself. You are aligning your consciousness with the state of fulfillment, with the life you desire. You are correcting the record of your inner world, and in doing so, you create a new present and a new future. The outer world, being a reflection of the inner, conforms accordingly. Consider this. Many people carry the burden of failure, disappointment, and regret throughout their lives. They replay these events in their minds over and over, reinforcing them, feeding them with attention and feeling. And what do they experience? More of the same. The law of revision allows you to break this cycle. By deliberately rewriting the past, you free yourself from its influence and open the door to new possibilities. You are no longer bound by yesterday's mistakes. You are empowered to create today and tomorrow anew. Let me give you an example. Suppose you had a business meeting that went poorly. Perhaps a client rejected your proposal, or a partner criticized your idea. Ordinarily, you might leave the room feeling defeated, replaying the scene in your mind, dwelling on every word, every gesture, every perceived failure. But through the law of revision, you can change it. Before you sleep, enter the scene in your imagination. See the meeting unfold perfect. Hear the client express enthusiasm. Feel the approval, the respect, the success. Dwell in that revised scene with feeling. When you awaken, your subconscious has accepted this as true, and you begin to notice opportunities, people and circumstances aligning with this revised reality. The unseen, ever-obedient responds to the state you assume. And notice this. Revision is not about manipulation or control of others. It is about your own consciousness. You are not forcing the world to change. You are changing yourself, and the outer world must respond. The universe mirrors your inner state. When your inner world is corrected, harmonized, and aligned with your desires, the outer world cannot help but reflect it. Revision is the silent, effortless act of reclaiming your power over life, of taking command of your story, and of transforming disappointment into opportunity. Some may ask, Neville, can I revise even events from long ago? Absolutely. Time is but a construct in consciousness. The law of revision applies to all events, whether recent or distant. Perhaps you had a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, or a personal mistake years ago. Enter it in your imagination tonight. Rewrite it. Feel it as you wished it had happened. Experience the emotions of fulfillment, success, and joy in the scene. Persist in this practice. Each revision leaves an imprint on your subconscious, reshaping your present and creating a future that is free from the limitations of the past. And here is the secret. Revision works because your subconscious mind is the creative power behind your life. Your outer world is merely the echo of the inner world. By revising the inner world, you impress a new reality upon the subconscious. You change the pattern, the assumption, the state of consciousness that governs your experience. The outer world, being obedient to the inner, responds accordingly. This is why revision is so transformative. It is not mere wishful thinking. It is the conscious act of creation. Let me remind you, revision must be done with feeling. Vividness alone is insufficient. You must immerse yourself emotionally in the scene. Feel it as real and experience the satisfaction, the relief, or the joy that would have accompanied the desired outcome. Feeling is the secret ingredient that activates the law. Without feeling, the subconscious remains inert and the revision fails. But when feeling is present, the law responds instantly, silently, and perfectly. So I say to you tonight, do not allow yesterday to dictate the terms of today. Do not carry disappointment, failure, or regret like a chain around your neck. Every night, take the events of the day or any day in your past and revise them, rewrite them in your imagination,
as you wish they had occurred. Feel them, dwell in them, and allow them to leave your consciousness with satisfaction. In doing so, you are exercising the most profound creative power available to you, the power to reshape your life by reshaping your mind. And understand this, revision is not a one-time act, it is a continuous practice. Life presents many challenges, many moments that do not unfold as you desire. Each evening, as you prepare for rest, review the day and revise it. Correct what went wrong, strengthen what went right. This simple, consistent practice will transform your life. Your inner world will become harmonious, and the outer world will inevitably follow. You will find that opportunities appear, relationships improve, circumstances change, and success flows naturally, all because you chose to master your imagination and the law of revision. Finally, remember this: the unseen, the creative power behind your life, is always obedient. It never resists. It responds perfectly to the state you assume in consciousness. By revising the past, you align yourself with fulfillment. You free yourself from the weight of mistakes and disappointments. You create the conditions for your desires to manifest effortlessly. The law is simple, the method is clear, and the results are inevitable. Revision is your key to mastery over life itself. Ladies and gentlemen, embrace the law of revision tonight. Rewrite the past. Feel the fulfillment. Persist in your inner reality, and watch as the unseen works silently to bring your inner state into outer form. Nothing in your life is fixed. Everything responds to consciousness. Everything obeys the state you assume. This is the law of revision. This is the art of conscious creation. This is the path to living a life of effortless fulfillment, where disappointment is replaced by possibility and failure is transformed into opportunity.
5. Living in the end. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to speak about a principle so powerful, so effortless, and so transformative that it can alter the very course of your life. It is the principle of living in the end. Most people live in the middle, in the process, in the becoming. They chase after their desires, hoping that one day, somewhere in the future, they might achieve them. They measure their success by events, by evidence, by outward circumstances. But I tell you, the outer world is always a reflection of the inner state. To manifest your desire effortlessly, you must live now in the end, here and now, in the state of fulfillment. To live in the end is to inhabit the consciousness of having already achieved your desire. It is to feel, think, and act as the person who already possesses what you seek. If your desire is health, live in the consciousness of perfect vitality. If your desire is wealth, live as though abundance already surrounds you. If your desire is love, live as though love is already present in your life. It is not imagining what will happen in the future. It is living as if it has already happened. This, my friends, is the secret of effortless manifestation. Now, many people misunderstand this principle. They think that to live in the end is to fantasize, to wish, or to daydream. But I tell you, it is not fantasy. It is reality. Reality is not defined by appearances. It is defined by consciousness. The outer world is merely the echo, the reflection, the manifestation of your inner state. When you occupy the state of the fulfilled desire, the outer world is compelled to conform. You do not chase, you do not struggle, you do not force. It happens naturally because consciousness precedes form. Let me give you an example. Suppose you wish to become a respected leader, someone whom others look up to for wisdom and guidance. Many will focus on trying harder, learning more, seeking validation from others, and yet they will often find themselves overlooked, unheard, or undervalued. Why? Because they are not living in the end. They are living in the process, in the not yet. To truly manifest leadership, you must occupy the state now. See yourself as already respected. Speak, think, and behave as though your influence is already recognized. Feel the confidence, the authority, and the respect. Persist in that inner reality. The world cannot resist the consciousness that knows itself as fulfilled. And notice this: living in the end requires faith, not in appearances but in your inner state. The outer world may not immediately reflect your assumption. Circumstances may seem contrary. Others may question you or resist. Do not be shaken. Appearances are always deceptive. They are the echo of yesterday's assumptions, not today. By remaining steadfast in your assumed end, you impress your subconscious mind and the unseen begins its work. It is precise, silent, and unstoppable. The universe does not question or hesitate. It responds perfectly to the state you occupy. Now, how do you live in the end? You do so first by imagining vividly, with feeling. See the scene of your fulfilled desire as if it is happening now. Hear the sounds, feel the sensations,
taste the joy, smell the satisfaction, immerse yourself fully. But seeing is not enough. You must act from that state. See, think, and behave as the person who has already received. Do not conform to circumstances. Let circumstances conform to you. The person who lives in the end does not beg, does not strive, does not plead. They know the reality is already theirs, and they act accordingly. Consider this practice. Each morning take a few moments to dwell in your end state. Close your eyes, enter the scene of your fulfilled desire, and live it fully. Feel it. Speak it silently to yourself. Let your mind, body, and spirit inhabit that reality. Then carry that consciousness with you throughout the day. Do not let appearances sway you. Do not let doubt or fear intrude. Persist in the inner reality, and watch as outer events gradually align with your inner state. This is the effortless path to manifestation. And here is the key. Do not concern yourself with the how. The universe knows perfectly well how to bring your assumption into reality. Your task is only to live in the end. Worrying about methods, steps, or timing is a diversion. The unseen works silently, invisibly, and perfectly. When you occupy the end state with faith and feeling, the outer world must yield. Your imagination combined with feeling is the most powerful force in existence. Effort, struggle, and striving are unnecessary when you master this principle. Some may ask, Neville, what if the world resists? What if circumstances are contrary? And I say appearances are never the measure of reality. They are temporary, fleeting, and changeable. The reality you wish to experience exists first in consciousness. If you hold that reality firmly, persistently, and with feeling, outer circumstances are compelled to conform. The world bends silently, inevitably, to the state of your consciousness. Do not argue with appearances. Ignore them. Persist in the end. This is the art of effortless creation. Let me share another example. Suppose your desire is to experience financial freedom. You may look at your current circumstances, debts, bills, scarcity, and feel discouraged. But the outer world is not the judge of your reality. Close your eyes, imagine the scene of financial abundance. See yourself receiving payments, signing contracts, enjoying wealth, and using it joyfully. Feel the satisfaction, the security, and the freedom. Immerse yourself in this end state as if it is real now. Persist in it, and you will notice opportunities, people, and circumstances aligning to bring it into form. This is not magic. It is the law in operation. And notice this, living in the end is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice. Every day, every moment you have the opportunity to return to your end state, to dwell in the reality you desire, and to persist. The more faithfully you inhabit this state, the more powerfully it impresses the subconscious mind, and the more effortlessly it manifests in your life. It is the most natural, the most joyful, and the most effective way to create reality. Finally, understand this. The outer world cannot create your life for you. It can reflect only what you assume within. If you live in lack, struggle, or fear, you will experience those realities. But if you live in the end, in fulfillment, in satisfaction, the world must conform. This is the law, simple, precise, and infallible. Your imagination, your feeling, your assumption, these are the instruments of creation. Master them. Live in the end. Persist silently, joyfully, and confidently. And watch as the invisible becomes visible, effortlessly, naturally, divinely. Ladies and gentlemen, embrace this principle tonight. Choose your desire. Enter the scene. Feel it fully. Live it as if it is already yours. Persist. Ignore appearances, and trust the unseen. This is the secret of effortless manifestation. This is the art of conscious creation. This is the path to a life where your desires unfold without struggle, where your imagination and feeling shape reality, and where you live not in the becoming, but in the fulfilled state of your own perfect creation.
6. Detachment from the means. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we confront a truth so subtle yet so powerful that most people overlook it entirely. It is this. In order to manifest your desire effortlessly, you must detach from the means. Most people imagine creation as a process of effort, of struggle, of endless planning. They believe that if they act just enough, plan just enough, strategize perfectly, they will achieve their goals. But I tell you, this is not the law of manifestation. The law responds not to effort, not to method, not to strategy, but to consciousness. It responds to the state you assume, to the reality you inhabit within. Detachment from the means does not mean inaction. It does not mean laziness or passivity. It means that your focus is on the end, the fulfilled desire, rather than the steps, the process, or the methods. The outer world is infinite in its ways but limited in appearance. It cannot show you every path, every opportunity, every detail of how your desire will manifest. That is why clinging to the how is a form of resistance. When you insist on seeing the exact steps, the universe cannot deliver. The law of assumption works silently, invisibly, and through paths that your limited mind cannot yet comprehend. Detachment opens the door for the unseen to operate freely. Consider this. Suppose your desire is to become financially abundant. Many will focus solely on the methods, investments, savings, businesses, partnerships, and yet they struggle, worry, and fret because their attention is on the how. This anxiety, this preoccupation, obstructs manifestation. But if you detach from the means, you focus entirely on the end. You imagine abundance, feel it as real, live in it as though it is already yours. You do not control how it will arrive, you simply occupy the state. The intelligence of the unseen then begins to orchestrate events, people, and circumstances to bring your assumption into form. This is the secret of effortless manifestation. Assume the end and release the how. Many people ask, Neville, if I do not act, how will it happen? But action is natural when you live in the end. When you inhabit the state of fulfillment, your mind and body act in perfect alignment with the end you desire. You will be guided, inspired, and directed toward the steps necessary, often without strain, without effort, without force. Action flows naturally from the state you assume. It is not the action that creates. It is the state. The outer steps are only reflections, responses to the inner reality. By detaching from the means, you allow life itself to move effortlessly to fulfill your desire. And notice this. Detachment does not mean indifference. You must care deeply about your desire, but you must not cling to the method, the time, or the way it will manifest. Clinging is the hallmark of doubt. It is the inner struggle that obstructs your creative power. But when you release the need to control the process, you align with the intelligence of life. You enter a state of faith, of quiet confidence, of trust. You do not worry about the means, you only dwell in the end. And the unseen begins to operate through ways far beyond your imagination. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose your desire is to meet a life partner. Many people chase, search, and plan every step to make it happen. They analyze, strategize, and worry about every detail. But detachment from the means shifts the focus. Instead of obsessing over dates, introductions, and circumstances, you occupy the state of already being loved. You feel the embrace, hear the words, experience the joy. You live in that inner reality with faith, and the universe orchestrates people, opportunities, and events to fulfill the assumption. You do not force, you do not chase, you simply live in the reality you desire. This is the law in action. Some may ask, Neville, how can I remain detached when life seems to demand effort? I tell you, detachment is a matter of consciousness, not circumstance. You can act, you can do, you can plan, but your mind remains in the end. Your inner state is the key. When you act from the fulfilled state, every step becomes effortless. The pressure, the worry, and the strain disappear. You are no longer trying to force reality. Reality flows naturally to you. Detachment from the means is freedom. It is trust. It is faith. It is the understanding that life itself will orchestrate the fulfillment of your desire. Notice this. Many people fail because they do not understand the intelligence of life. They believe they must force, push, and control every aspect of their reality. But the law is precise. The unseen intelligence responds to state, to feeling, to assumption. It does not respond to anxiety, worry, or effort directed out. When you release the need to control, when you detach from the means, the intelligence of life works silently, perfectly, and inevitably to bring your inner state into form. Your imagination combined with feeling becomes the instrument of creation, and all else is handled effortlessly. And here is a subtle point. Detachment requires patience, trust, and persistence. You must remain faithful to the end, even if circumstances seem contrary. The world may appear slow, obstacles may arise, doubts may whisper. Do not yield. Detachment does not mean giving up or neglecting your inner state. It means holding the end with quiet faith,
While the universe arranges the unseen, the intelligence of life never fails, never delays, and never errs. It works perfectly, invisibly, and in ways you may never anticipate. Your task is only to remain in the end. Let me share another example. Suppose your desire is health and vitality. Many will try every method, every diet, every exercise. Yet if their inner state is one of worry, fear, or doubt, results are slow or inconsistent. But if you assume perfect health, feel it fully and detach from the how it will appear, your subconscious orchestrates the necessary conditions. Naturally, you may be guided to the right foods, practices, or therapies effortlessly. Your actions will flow in harmony with the end state. Detachment from the means allows the intelligence of life to operate without obstruction. And remember this, detachment does not weaken desire, it strengthens it. It aligns you with the truth that what you wish is already yours in consciousness. It frees you from anxiety, struggle, and frustration. You are no longer a servant of outer circumstances. You are a master of your inner reality. When you hold the end, trust the unseen, and release the how, you engage the most powerful force in existence, effortless creation, through consciousness. So tonight I ask you to practice detachment from the means. Choose your desire. Enter the state of its fulfillment. Feel it. Live it. Breathe it. Then release the how. Do not fret about timing, methods, or circumstances. Persist in the inner state. Trust the unseen intelligence that works through invisible channels to manifest your assumption. Your imagination, combined with feeling and detachment, is the key to effortless manifestation. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this fully. The outer world cannot create your desire for you. It reflects only your inner state. If you cling to the means, you obstruct the natural flow. If you detach, you allow the intelligence of life to bring your imagination into form. Persist in the end. Remain faithful to the fulfilled state, and watch as life orchestrates circumstances perfectly, effortlessly, invisibly. This is detachment from the means. This is the art of living in alignment with the law. This is the secret of effortless creation.
7. Persistence in assumption. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we arrive at a truth so vital, so essential to the art of conscious creation, that without it, all other efforts falter. That truth is this: persistence in assumption. Many people understand the principle of assuming the end. They can imagine, they can feel, but that imagination is fleeting. Their attention wavers. They abandon the inner state at the first sign of contrary appearances. And because they fail to persist, their desires remain unfulfilled. Let me tell you clearly, persistence is the single most powerful tool you have in the art of manifestation. Without it, even the most vivid imagination cannot bear fruit. Now you may ask, Neville, what does persistence in assumption truly mean? It means living continuously in the state of the fulfilled desire, without wavering, without hesitation, without interruption. It means that no outer circumstance, no opposing event, no voice of doubt can pull you from the inner reality you have assumed. To persist is to remain faithful to the end, day and night, in thought, word, and feeling. It is not an occasional act, it is a continuous state of consciousness. And it is this unwavering persistence that impresses the subconscious mind and compels the unseen to bring your desire into manifestation. Many people are familiar with fleeting daydreams. They see a vision of wealth, love, or success for a moment, and they feel it, but soon doubt creeps in. Circumstances seem contrary. The mind returns to old patterns of fear and limitation. And what happens? The desire fades, unmanifested. Persistence in assumption prevents this. It is the conscious decision to maintain the state of fulfillment despite appearance. It is the discipline to dwell in the reality you wish to create until it becomes so natural, so real, so alive within you that it begins to radiate outward. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose your desire is to write a book that inspires millions. You see yourself at your desk, writing effortlessly, the words flowing from your imagination. You feel the joy of creation, the pride of accomplishment, the satisfaction of impact. But tomorrow doubts arise. You wonder if anyone will read it, if it will succeed, if it will ever be completed. Most would abandon the feeling and the vision, but the persistent creator returns. Each day, no matter what appears in the outer world, they enter the scene again. They live in the end. They feel the fulfillment. They persist continuously, and gradually the book manifests. The audience gathers and the vision becomes real. This is the power of persistence. Notice this. Persistence is not struggle. It is not effort in the outer sense. It is not obsessing or forcing. It is calm, confident, unshakable. You do not argue with appearances. You do not attempt to manipulate reality. You simply inhabit the end state and refuse to be pulled from it. This is the distinction between struggle and persistence. Struggle arises from doubt, from fear, from lack. Persistence arises from faith, from certainty, from knowledge that the law is perfect and will respond to your inner state. Some may ask, Neville, how long must I persist? I say persist until it feels natural, until it becomes part of your consciousness, until doubt no longer has a place in your mind. Persistence is measured not in days or months, but in the constancy of your inner state. You do not abandon it when appearances oppose you. You return to it quietly, joyfully, and confidently. You do not question. You do not argue. You do not seek proof. You persist, because persistence itself is the signal that impresses the subconscious, activates the law, and compels the unseen to manifest the assumed end. And here is a subtle point. Persistence in assumption is strengthened by feeling. Imagination alone without feeling is like a seed planted on barren soil. It may appear, but it will not grow. Feeling is the water, the nourishment, the life that compels the seed to take root. When you persist in the end with vivid feeling, joy, satisfaction, confidence, love, the subconscious accepts it as reality, the unseen responds, and outer events begin to align effortlessly. This is the secret that few understand. Persistence must be accompanied by the lived experience of the fulfilled desire. Consider another example. Suppose your desire is to attract a life partner. You see them, you feel the love, you dwell in the scene of intimacy and companionship. But the outer world may seem slow to respond. People may not appear. Circumstances may seem contrary. Most give up, returning to doubt, fear, and lack. But the persistent creator returns to the inner reality each night, each day. They feel the love, they imagine the presence, they live in the end. Slowly, silently, the unseen orchestrates events, people and circumstances to reflect the inner state. The manifestation occurs effortlessly, not because of striving, but because of persistence in assumption. And notice this, persistence does not require a rigid schedule, nor does it demand unnatural effort. It is a matter of inner alignment. It is a quiet, unshakable decision to remain faithful to the end. It is returning to the inner reality whenever thought drifts, whenever doubt arises, whenever appearances tempt you to abandon your state. Persistence is the conscious refusal to let the outer world dictate your inner reality. It is mastery over consciousness. It is the key to effortless creation. Some may fear that persistence sounds tedious or exhausting, but let me tell you, when you inhabit the fulfilled state with feeling, persistence becomes natural. It is pleasurable. It is a joy. You are not fighting. You are not struggling. You are resting in reality, living as the person you wish to be. The outer world may move slowly, but inner reality is immediate. Your persistence is not a burden. It is a delight, and the results will astonish you. For the unseen cannot resist the continuous, faithful, unbroken state of consciousness. Let me remind you, most failures in life are not due to inability, lack of intelligence, or circumstance. They are due to lack of persistence. People assume for a moment, they feel for a moment, but they abandon the state when appearances oppose them. The law of assumption is perfect. It will bring forth exactly what is assumed, but only if the assumption is persistent. If you persist, no obstacle can prevent manifestation. If you falter, the world reflects your faltering. The difference is in your constancy. Persist in the end, and the universe must obey. Finally, understand this fully. Persistence in assumption is the discipline of the mind, the training of consciousness, and the expression of faith. It is not blind hope. It is not idle wishing. It is deliberate, conscious, and unwavering. It is the act of living in the end continuously, despite appearances, despite time, despite doubt. It is the secret of effortless creation, the path to mastery, and the foundation of a life lived in alignment with the law. Ladies and gentlemen, practice persistence tonight. Choose your desire, enter the scene, feel it fully, live it as if it is already yours. Return to it whenever thought wanders. Persist silently, joyfully, and confidently. Ignore appearances. Trust the unseen. The law of assumption will respond perfectly, inevitably, and effortlessly. Your persistence in assumption is the key to turning imagination into reality, thought into form, and desire into fulfilled experience.
8.
Faith in the unseen. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we confront a principle that lies at the very heart of conscious creation, faith in the unseen. So many people attempt to manifest their desires, yet they falter, they worry, they doubt, because they place their faith in what is seen, in the outer circumstances, in appearances. But I tell you that visible world is not the measure of reality. It is a reflection, a shadow, a consequence of the unseen. To master creation, to call your desire into existence effortlessly, you must place your faith entirely in that which is unseen. Now, faith in the unseen does not mean blind belief. It is not hope without reason. It is the recognition of a universal law, a law as precise, as exact as mathematics itself, that whatever you impress upon the subconscious mind with feeling and persistence, the unseen will manifest in form. The world that is yet unseen is alive, intelligent, and obedient. Your imagination is the instrument, your feeling is the power, and faith is the key that unlocks this invisible intelligence. Consider this. Most people live in doubt because they are deceived by appearances. They see poverty and fear lack. They see sickness and doubt health. They see failure and question success. Yet appearances are always unreliable. They are the outer echo of yesterday's assumptions, not today's. Faith in the unseen requires you to disregard appearances entirely. It requires you to see, to feel, and to know that the reality you desire already exists in consciousness, waiting to be reflected in form. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose your desire is financial abundance. You may look at your bank account, at bills, at debts, and feel discouraged. The outer world may suggest impossibility, but faith in the unseen demands that you close your eyes and dwell fully in the state of wealth. See yourself with abundance. Hear the transactions, feel the joy, experience the freedom. Know within yourself that the unseen intelligence of life is already moving to bring this into manifestation. Do not question the how. Do not fear the delay. The unseen is precise, patient, and infinitely intelligent. Faith assures that your desire will appear no matter what appearances suggest. Faith in the unseen is strengthened by imagination. The imagination is not a toy. It is the creative faculty. It is the invisible hammer that shapes reality. When you imagine vividly with feeling and persist in that state, you impress the subconscious mind. The unseen, obeying this state, begins to arrange circumstances, opportunities, and people to reflect your inner reality. But here is the key. The unseen cannot operate where doubt exists. Every moment of hesitation, every flicker of disbelief is an obstacle. Faith removes the obstacle. Faith trusts the unseen. Faith lives entirely in the reality of the fulfilled desire. Some may ask, Neville, what if I cannot feel it fully? What if doubt intrudes? This is the common human struggle. And yet this is why persistence is required. Enter the scene, feel it as fully as possible, and return whenever thought drifts. Each return strengthens faith. Each act of returning to the inner reality impresses the subconscious until doubt no longer holds sway. The unseen intelligence, ever obedient, begins to respond with precision. Your outer world will eventually reflect the inner certainty. Faith is not a single act. It is a continuous practice, a quiet discipline, a living state of consciousness. Notice this. Faith in the unseen does not concern itself with time. The outer world may delay, appearances may contradict, and yet the unseen does not measure reality by clocks or calendars. It works invisibly, silently, and perfectly, aligning all circumstances to reflect the state you occupy. Faith trusts in this process. Faith does not argue with appearance. Faith does not attempt to force events. Faith lives fully in the reality of the end. It is the quiet, unwavering assurance that what is assumed in consciousness will inevitably appear in form. Let me give another example. Suppose your desire is health and vitality. You may experience symptoms, limitations, or weakness. Appearances suggest illness. Faith in the unseen allows you to close your eyes, imagine perfect health, feel it, and dwell in that state. You do not argue with the body. You do not fear the symptom. You inhabit the state of vitality fully, persistently, and with feeling. The subconscious mind accepts this state as reality. The unseen intelligence begins to correct, restore, and harmonize. The outer manifestation follows inevitably,
effortlessly, and naturally. And notice this, faith in the unseen is inseparable from detachment. You must assume the end, feel it fully, persist in the state, and then release the need to control the process. Faith is the trust that the unseen intelligence knows perfectly how to bring your assumption into form. You do not need to see the steps. You do not need to understand the timing. You do not need to intervene. Faith allows life itself to orchestrate the manifestation. This is the most effortless, the most natural, and the most powerful form of creation. Some may think faith is passive. They may believe that one must wait idly. But I tell you, faith is never passive. It is active, but in consciousness, not in striving. It is the active assumption, the living awareness, the feeling of the fulfilled desire. The actions you take naturally flow from this. They are inspired, effortless, and perfectly aligned. Faith in the unseen transforms every act, every decision, every word, and every thought into a vehicle of manifestation. Let me remind you, most failures in life occur because people rely on the seen. They trust appearances, circumstances, and external evidence. They allow fear, doubt, and worry to dominate their consciousness. The law of being precise responds to this state. They manifest struggle, limitation, and frustration. Faith in the unseen reverses this. It shifts the focus inward. It places absolute trust in the reality that is already assumed in consciousness. It aligns thought, feeling, and imagination with the desired end, and the unseen, obedient to this state, reflects it effortlessly in form. Finally, understand this fully. Faith in the unseen is not temporary. It is continuous. It is the practice of living entirely in the state of fulfillment. It is the discipline of returning to the inner reality, day and night, regardless of outer circumstance. It is the unwavering trust that the invisible intelligence of life is always at work, arranging all for your desire. Faith in the unseen is the ultimate tool of conscious creation. It is the secret of effortless manifestation. It is the pathway to a life where imagination, feeling, and persistence converge to produce reality. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I ask you to embrace faith in the unseen. Close your eyes, enter the scene of your fulfilled desire, feel it, live it, breathe it, persist in that. Release the need to control the how. Trust the invisible intelligence that works silently, perfectly, and inevitably. The law of assumption responds only to faith. Where faith exists, the unseen is compelled to act. Where doubt exists, the law is obstructed. Choose faith, live in the unseen, persist, feel, and imagine, and watch as the invisible becomes visible, effortlessly, naturally, divine.
9. Gratitude is the secret. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we explore a principle so profound, so elegantly simple, and yet so transformative that it is often overlooked by those who seek success, fulfillment, and joy. That principle is gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a polite response to kindness or a casual acknowledgement of blessings. Gratitude is the secret of life itself. It is the bridge between your imagination and its manifestation. It is the channel through which the unseen intelligence of the universe brings your desires into form. Without gratitude, even the most vivid imagination struggles to create. With gratitude, even a single assumption becomes irresistible to the law of manifestation. Now let me make this clear. Gratitude is not an afterthought. It is not something you offer only when circumstances please you. True gratitude is an inner state, a consciousness of abundance, a recognition of the perfection of life, even before the desire is fully realized. You are not grateful for what you see. You are grateful for what you assume, for what you feel is real in your imagination. You are grateful for the invisible reality of your fulfilled desire. And when you dwell in that state of gratitude, the universe, being obedient, must respond. Consider this. Most people focus on lack. They observe what is missing, what has not occurred, what has failed, and they dwell in complaint, resentment, or despair. And what does the world reflect back to them? More lack, more frustration, more obstacles. The law of assumption is precise. It reflects the state of consciousness, not wishful thinking. If your consciousness is one of dissatisfaction, the outer world must mirror that dissatisfaction. Gratitude reverses this process. It shifts consciousness from absence to presence, from longing to fulfillment, from doubt to certainty. It transforms imagination from a tool into a magnet, irresistibly drawing the unseen into form. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose your desire is to attract a loving relationship. Many people imagine the relationship and then focus on the emptiness, the delay, or the absence. They long, they wish, and they complain. But gratitude changes everything. Instead, imagine the love, feel it fully, and then give thanks in your heart as though it is already present. Feel the warmth, the joy, the connection. Say silently, I am grateful for this love. I am thankful for the joy it brings. I am grateful that it exists now in my life. This gratitude impresses the subconscious, activates the unseen, and aligns circumstances effortlessly to bring your desire into manifestation. Notice this. Gratitude must be lived, not spoken. It must be felt deeply, fully, complete. A casual thank you without feeling accomplishes nothing. The universe responds not to words, but to the state of consciousness behind the words. When you dwell in gratitude, when you feel it as real, it becomes a vibration, a frequency that the unseen cannot resist. The law of assumption sees only your inner state. And when that state is one of gratitude for the end already realized, manifestation is inevitable. Some may ask, Neville, what if I feel no reason to be grateful? What if nothing seems to go my way? And I tell you that is precisely when gratitude is most powerful. Gratitude is not dependent on outward circumstances. It is dependent on imagination and feeling. Close your eyes, enter the scene of your fulfilled desire, feel it, live it, then express gratitude as though it is already present. Be thankful for the love, the wealth, the success, the health, the freedom, the joy. Do not wait for appearances. Gratitude in advance impresses the subconscious and compels the unseen to create the reality you assume. Let me share another example. Suppose your desire is financial abundance. You may look at your bank account and see limitation. You may feel worry and anxiety. But instead of focusing on scarcity, close your eyes, imagine abundance, and feel grateful as if it is already yours. Feel the security, the joy, the freedom. Give thanks silently in your heart. This feeling of gratitude, living in advance, impresses the subconscious and activates the law. Opportunities, people, and circumstances will align effortlessly to reflect the inner state. Gratitude is the magnet that draws manifestation to you. Notice this. Gratitude is inseparable from faith. Faith assumes the end. Gratitude affirms the end. Faith says, it is already mine. Gratitude says, thank you. It is already mine. Together, they form a perfect state of consciousness. Without faith, gratitude may falter. Without gratitude, faith may remain theoretical. But when combined, faith and gratitude create an inner reality so compelling, so irresistible, that the unseen must bring it into form. This is why I call gratitude the secret, because it completes the process of conscious creation. Some may think gratitude is passive or necessary. They may believe that imagining the desire is sufficient. But I tell you, imagination alone is incomplete. Feeling alone is incomplete. Persistence alone is incomplete. Gratitude is the element that seals the assumption, that impresses it deeply upon the subconscious, and that activates the law to work silently, perfectly, and inevitably. Without gratitude, the seed of desire may be planted, but remains dormant. With gratitude, it blossoms effortlessly, naturally, and divinely. Consider this further. The unseen responds to consciousness, not to effort. You cannot force manifestation through struggle, worry, or striving. You can, however, impress your consciousness with gratitude. You can dwell in the end, feel the fulfillment, and give thanks as though it is already done. This is the path of effortless manifestation. This is the art of living in alignment with the law. This is the secret that turns imagination into reality, thought into form, and desire into experience. Finally, understand this fully. Gratitude is not limited to the moment of fulfillment. It can and should be practiced continually. Each day, each moment, find reasons to give thanks in advance. Express gratitude for the desires you assume, for the reality you imagine, for the fulfillment that is yet unseen. Make gratitude a state of consciousness, a living, breathing, radiant presence in your mind and heart. The more fully you inhabit this state, the more powerfully the unseen responds. The law of assumption is precise. It obeys gratitude as faithfully as it obeys imagination and persistence. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I urge you to embrace gratitude as the secret. Enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. Feel it fully. Live it as if it is already yours. Persist in that state and give thanks. Give thanks silently, joyfully, and fully.
Trust the unseen, release the how, and let gratitude magnetize your assumption into reality. This is the law. This is the secret. This is the path to effortless, joyful, and inevitable manifestation. Gratitude transforms imagination into experience. It transforms thought into form. It transforms desire into reality. Embrace it, live it, and watch as your inner state reflects perfectly in the world around you.
10. Living as if. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, as we arrive at the culmination of this journey, I want to speak about the principle that ties all others together. The principle that brings every desire, every assumption, every act of imagination into effortless manifestation. That principle is this: living as if. Living as if is the secret, the art, the practical expression of faith, imagination, persistence, and gratitude. It is the discipline of inhabiting the reality you desire, moment by moment, until it becomes as natural and as inevitable as the sunrise. You see, most people live as if life happens to them. They wait for circumstances, for conditions, for validation from the outer world. They say, I will be happy when, I will be wealthy when, I will be loved when. But this is the law of limitation, the law of lack. The world reflects exactly what is assumed within. And if you live in the not yet, the world will faithfully mirror it. Living as if reverses this. Living as if places you in the state of fulfillment now. It assumes the end, experiences the end, and acts from the end. It is not an act of pretension. It is the natural expression of consciousness aligned with desire. Living as if begins in imagination. You must create a vivid scene in your mind, a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire. It must be detailed, real, and alive. Imagine the circumstances, hear the sounds, see the colors, feel the sensations. Immerse yourself fully. But here is the key. Imagination alone is insufficient. You must combine imagination with feeling. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the freedom, the love, or the accomplishment as though it is already yours. The subconscious mind accepts feeling as reality. It cannot distinguish between what is real and what is assumed with intensity and conviction. The moment you inhabit that state, the world begins to reflect it. And then comes the art of persistence. Living as if is not a momentary exercise. It is continuous. You do not imagine once and then return to doubt. You persist day and night in the inner reality. When appearances contradict, when circumstances oppose, you do not waver. You return to the scene, you re-enter the state, and you live in the end again. Persistence transforms imagination into certainty. Persistence impresses the subconscious so deeply that the unseen intelligence of life is compelled to bring the inner reality into outer manifestation. Notice this. Living as if does not concern itself with the how or the when. The intelligence of the unseen is infinitely more capable than your limited mind. Your task is not to arrange, control, or manipulate outer events. Your task is to inhabit the inner reality. The how, the timing, the sequence of events will be orchestrated silently, perfectly, and inevitably. When you live as if, you release resistance, and life itself becomes your co-creator. Action flows naturally, effortlessly, guided by the inner state, without struggle, without force, without doubt. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose your desire is to achieve success in your chosen field. You may look at your current circumstances, competition, scarcity, lack of recognition, and feel discouraged. But living as if transforms everything. Close your eyes, enter the scene of success. See yourself speaking, performing, creating, and being recognized. Hear the applause, feel the satisfaction, taste the triumph. Immerse yourself in the reality as though it is already true. Then go about your day carrying that consciousness. Your thoughts, words, actions, and decisions will naturally align with the reality you inhabit. Opportunities appear effortlessly. People respond naturally. Circumstances conform. This is living as if in action. And here is a subtle truth. Living as if is inseparable from gratitude. When you live as if your desire is fulfilled, feel grateful for it. Give thanks silently, joyfully, fully. Gratitude amplifies the state. It deepens the impression on the subconscious mind. It signals to the unseen intelligence that the reality is already accepted, already in faith, imagination, persistence, and gratitude converge in this one principle.
creating a state so compelling that manifestation becomes inevitable. Some may ask, Neville, how do I live as if when the world opposes me? I tell you, appearances are never the measure of reality. They are temporary echoes of past assumptions, not reflections of what you now assume. The world cannot contradict a state fully inhabited. When you live as if, you ignore appearances, you disregard the evidence, and you focus entirely on the assumed reality. Doubt cannot survive in this state. Fear cannot resist it. Limitation cannot intrude. The law of assumption responds only to consciousness. And when your consciousness is one of the fulfilled end, the universe must yield. Consider another example. Suppose your desire is love, companionship, and emotional fulfillment. You may feel loneliness, absence, or rejection, but living as if transforms your reality. Enter the scene in your imagination. Feel the presence of love, the warmth of connection, the joy of togetherness. Speak, think, and act as though this love is already present. Persist in this state. Give thanks, and release all concern for the how or when. Gradually, effortlessly, circumstances will conform, opportunities will appear, people will respond, the invisible will manifest the visible, exactly as you have assumed. This is the power of living as if. Notice this. Living as if is not pretending, it is not deception, it is a conscious alignment with reality as it exists in the imagination. It is the acknowledgement that consciousness is the creator, that thought and feeling are forces, and that outer form is merely the expression of inner reality. To live as if is to honor this law, to operate in harmony with it, and to experience the fullness of life as the creator of your own reality. Finally, understand this fully. Living as if is the culmination of all principles of conscious creation. It unites imagination, feeling, persistence, faith, gratitude, and detachment. It is the practical, daily application of the law of assumption. When you live as if, you do not struggle, you do not chase, you do not resist. You assume, persist, feel, give thanks, and act naturally from the state of fulfillment. And the unseen, obedient to your consciousness, manifest the assumed reality effortlessly, perfectly, inevitably. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I urge you to embrace living as if. Choose your desire, enter the scene, feel it fully, persist in the state, give thanks, release the how, live each day, each moment, as the person who already possesses the desire. Make it real in your consciousness, and life itself will respond. This is the secret of effortless manifestation. This is the art of conscious creation. This is the path to a life of abundance, joy, freedom, and fulfillment. Live as if, and the invisible will become visible. Live as if, and the impossible will appear effortless. Live as if, and you will discover the ultimate truth, that all reality is shaped by your consciousness, and that you, and you alone, are the creator of your world.